This is the Magic Our Way podcast with my mutants, Kevin, Danny, Eli, and Lee. They're cut above the rest, bub. You're the best there is at what you do. And what you do is pretty nice.
Jumbo, everyone.
Harambe.
And welcome to another edition of
The Magic Our Way.
Magic Our Way.
Magic Our Way.
Magic Our Way.
The Magic Our Way podcast.
They are truly magical and whatnot.
Asante Sana, everyone. You're listening to the Magic Our Way podcast from New Orleans, Louisiana. And on this show, we invite you to feel the libation.
Feel it, feel it.
We are artistic buffs talking about Disney stuff, and this is the show in which every opinion is welcome. MagicOurWay.com is where you can find us for this episode. We review Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And look, this isn't your typical polished, practiced, pixie dust and Disney podcast. No, sir. We are not online every day trying to tell you what happened to Margot Robbie's female-led Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
That's right, Kev. We're here to drink, talk some Disney, and tell you our thoughts on Wakanda Forever and ever and ever and ever.
That's right. So the more we drink, the more we'll give you the thing.
My name is Kevin.
And I'm Danny.
I'm Eli.
And Lee, and I'm always asking, what can I do to book a vacation for you?
Terrible.
Wakanda
I'm pretty sure I used that same one on the first Black Panther movie we did.
Oh, that was a while back. Who remembers? Wakanda do for you.
What can that book for you?
Wakanda boo. So, guys, enough of our jibber jabber. Wakanda forever. Here we are on the hub, and for this hub, we present a movie review, and you can tell by that music, we are back to Marvel, reviewing the next installment of MCU Phase 4. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever was released in the United States on November 11, 2022, and Marvel Studios describes the movie like so. Queen Ramonda, Shuri, M'Baku, Okoye, and the Dora Milaje fight to protect their nation from intervening world powers in the wake of King T'Challa's death. As the Wakandans strive to embrace the next chapter, the heroes must band together with the help of War Dog Nakia and Everett Ross and forge a new path for the kingdom of Wakanda. Of course, we will present our review in two parts, as usual, non-spoiler and spoiler-filled, and as usual, we will give you ample warning before the spoiler-filled section begins. So, for this, since this is a Marvel movie, we will begin, as we always do, with our Marvel guru, Eli. Eli, did you love it, like it, dislike it, loathe it, etc.? Plus, what other thoughts do you have to start off this conversation? Non-spoiler section. Go for it.
Non-spoiler. Well, Wakanda Forever is a movie that shows very deep respect for its fallen star forever. Much respect on that. But the overall theme is depression forever.
And ever.
And ever.
And ever.
And the main payoff in the movie pretty much took forever.
And ever.
And ever. And ever.
And ever and ever.
And so for the most part, I wanted to really love it because of what it is and what it represents, and everything I was surrounded with it. But I kind of like. I didn't hate it, but it took forever, and what it was trying to build up was good for Wakanda and the characters that were there, but they had other characters in there that just seemed like was a bunch of throw in and fill in. And I think this would have made, I was telling this today before, I think it would have made a good Disney Plus TV show to have stretched out.
Okay.
Absolutely. But,
yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. But the payoff of what it was supposed to be, that took way too long. So it was a good drama movie, but I just didn't feel marvelous.
You're not marvelous?
Yeah, I didn't feel marvelous.
You feel marvelous with it?
Yeah,
go for it.
We saw it at the same time together. I walked out of the theater and I looked at Eli and I said, well, that wasn't a bad movie. And that I was actually saying a lot because he and I, up into this, like for the last couple of weeks, like one day we just turned to each other and it's like, hey man, Wakanda Forever. What are your thoughts? Are you looking forward to this? And we're kind of like, not really. No, I mean, there's not a whole lot in the trailer that's kind of getting me excited for where this is going to go and what's going to happen. If anything, the trailer just looks to be an in memoriam for Chadwick Boseman and an introduction of Namor, but few and far in between in terms of like I can tell what's going to be happening. They're giving me something to look forward to, something to sink my teeth into. Like, oh, I can't wait to see how they get to this part. Oh my God, how's that going to play out? What's going to happen there? But it wasn't a bad movie, which is what we were worried about. It dragged at moments, but it never lost my attention. There were way too many characters that they indulged, but it never lost its overall focus. So it's a flawed movie for sure, but I mean, what movie isn't? There's also an issue with the plot that makes the motivation of the movie fall apart for me. But yeah, to echo what Eli said, that was my main takeaway. The biggest issue for me is that the movie starts off sullen and gloomy, and at times even uncomfortable, and it just never really lets up on that vibe. I told Eli, I was like, this is like the English Patient of Marvel movies. I mean,
He did.
you start with death, you go right into grief, and then depression and denial and vengeance.
Anger,
It's like you're visiting all the stages of grief.
I think you just unlocked the movie.
Right? But it keeps perpetuating itself. I mean, the grimness of the movie. I mean, really, it kind of felt like you were watching a DC film. It did not feel like a Marvel film. It was just dark the entire way through.
That's interesting because I feel like maybe that's the reason why I like this one so much.
Do you like DC movies in general?
I don't know that I like DC movies, but I like dramas. I like, I'm not like, if I had my choice, if I was like, hey, I could watch a comedy tonight, a drama, an action movie, or a rom-com. 9 times out of 10, I'm going for a drama. I'm going to watch Heat. I'm going to watch, The Godfather. I'm going to watch something that's heavy on the drama.
You was always looking to crack a joke?
That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking.
In my real life.
Yeah.
In my real life, I like to be depressed, I guess. I don't know.
Midlife crisis.
Yes.
Yeah, it could be part of it.
We just looked up the stages.
Yeah, we're all going through it, apparently.
But I would definitely say I was concerned simply because it's a sequel. And, sequels can really go the wrong way real quick. So I feel like that in and of itself, that it was as good as it was for being a sequel. I like that. I would give it credit for that it didn't just, rest on its laurels, I guess is the best way to say it. Like just try to repeat some of the first movie. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with Chadwick Boseman is definitely the vibe of this movie. They wanted to make sure that came across, and it definitely came across. Even from the opening scene, I was like, oh, man, like, okay, we're in for it. This is where it's going to go. But, I mean, I enjoyed it. I felt like I don't think it needed to be 3 hours. That's for sure. Even my wife was like, how long is this movie? The kids got to go to school tomorrow. It's like,
Yeah, right.
we went to the 7:30 show, and it was 10:30, 11 o'clock. Almost 11 o'clock by the time we got out. I was like, "Geez." So yeah, I mean, it was. I think it was a little long for what it was, but I feel like I maybe enjoyed it a little more than you guys. But again, I'm not the most vested in the Marvel universe either.
Okay. I like the Marvel universe in general, especially for my basis is from the cartoons and stuff. As far as how I feel about this movie, I think the spectacle of it all, from how it looks and the acting, I thought was done really well. So the overall, superficially, the spectacle of it, which I guess to be expected, the spectacle of the whole shebang was great. And we wouldn't expect anything less with all that, right? With Disney so far, because a lot of their stuff has been, a lot of the spectacles there, but the part where I'm just, I like Black Panther. He's one of my favorite characters. I have shirts and stuff, whatnot. I remember seeing the first movie, and it was just well done. Even the editing, and even the spectacle and the story and stuff like that. But in this particular one, Wakanda Forever, I just thought there was too much trying to develop. It's like you do learn about one thing, and then they have to break off of that story to explain the whole other thing, and then go under the water and look at whole Talaklan or whatever Kukaka.
Yeah.
It's Atlanteans. I don't know.
Tolokan.
Bukaki Gan.
Yeah. I think we ordered that tonight, by the way.
Rathacon. Oh, man.
I thought they kept calling him Nemo, to be honest with you. When they kept saying his name, I kept hearing Nemo.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I know that's not right, but it's that's what I heard. But okay.
Namor, yeah. But I just thought there was just too much going on that they tried to squish into one little movie where it didn't really make a cohesive storyline per se, but it added to the spectacle of it all. So I didn't hate the movie. I didn't loathe it for sure, but I sure didn't love it. And I don't know. I guess maybe I'm with E. I kind of like it, but I'm not really. I don't know. I'm in between. If I was in Spanish class, I'd say a C.
Más o menos.
Eli and I, after we saw it, we kind of were asking each other questions, and I thought he came up with one. It's a pretty good litmus test for how you feel about this movie, and that's to say, did you like this movie better than you liked, say, Thor: God of Love and Thunder?
Well, I know it was definitely better than Multiverse of Madness for me.
Okay.
So I enjoyed it better than that, but let me think.
Yeah, I would say definitely liked it more than, because I really liked God of Thunder until we started talking about it, and I was like, I don't think I like that movie as much as I thought I did.
Well, it was more comedy for sure in Thor: Love and
100%.
Thunder. Yeah.
Well, there's a follow-up question.
Yeah.
All right. So, did you like God? Like, if you had to just give your gut reaction
Of what?
which you like better?
Oh, between just those two?
Yeah.
God, they're both kind of equal for me.
Shang-Chi.
I like Shang-Chi better than
Like Shang-Chi
all
better?
those, yeah.
Okay.
I think
Love and Thunder.
My only issue with Shang-Chi is they haven't addressed anything that's happened there in any of the other movies in Phase 4. Like, there's nothing to link it to other than Wang. But even though with Wang, he was showing up in all the bunch of different MCU stuff that's been happening the past couple of years, none of that stuff intertwined.
You mean Wong?
Wang. I'm thinking Big Trouble in Little China. I'm sorry. Hey, Wang's in Big Trouble in Little China. Wong. Yeah, with Madison. Yeah. Okay.
I'm sitting here like, Wang.
Wang.
Oh. And that's caught what you meant. Well, anyway, the follow-up question to that is like, because I sat there, Eli asked me the same question, and I said, I think I like this movie better than I like God, Love, and Thunder. He's like, I agreed. But if you had to watch one of them again, which one would you watch? God of Love and Thor, or would you watch Wakanda Forever? And I was like, ooh, probably Thor.
Yeah, probably Thor.
Because
I laughed more.
Even though I liked this one better, I don't know that that I ever need to see this again. This feels like it was a grieving process that I don't want to have to ever revisit. It's like this was an exorcism of feelings, and I don't want to go back there. I felt like I felt when Chadwick Boseman died, and it was a huge bummer, and we all talked about it. We did a whole thing on the show. We even talked about it later on when they were talking about recasting, and we all were. I think most of us were in favor of it, if not all, of recasting. I think that's a decision we'll probably discuss later on as to how that affected this movie. But looking back on it, yeah, it feels like it's such a sullen movie, and it's a goodbye, and then you go through it all over again. Everything that you felt before, it's like now you're reliving this. Like it's as if Chadwick just died yesterday.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. Yeah, I could relate to that for sure. I mean, I think I'd still rather see this movie again, but I understand exactly what you're saying. I mean, it would have to be like I'm in the mood to be bummed out right now.
Yeah.
I'll watch this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think every time Danny says English patient, I still crack up. But it's so true and so poignant because everything was shot like really well as far as the movie was done and slow motion and so I mean you could tell they put a lot of money into
Colors, detail,
production.
Yeah. That's a spectacle thing I was referencing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm glad it didn't go cheap on that, but yeah. At the same time, it was just not. It's like a good drama movie, but it's just not a super. It just doesn't feel like a superhero movie. It just has the tone of okay, we've got the funeral, totally get that, but then everything else is about cultures and histories and how this happened and who was this person and then like you said, it's just this big smorgasbord of people that you're just like, all right, I don't even see how they all mesh together. And then there's still more depression, like slapped on top of it, like this big like wave of icing just over this cake of ingredients that you don't know how it would even taste, without that icing. And that's the other thing is like if you take, there's no disrespect to Chadwick Boseman at all, but it's just if you take that element out, like what kind of movie do you have? I didn't mean to say what kind of, but
what kind of movie?
What kind of movie do you have here? And I guess that's the thing. I mean, if you don't have that, like that powerful presence being done with it, what do you have here? Because if this is, and we were talking, this might be the last Phase 4 movie, right?
I guess. I don't even know. I have no idea.
But this is a big one. This is a big one that they would have used to anchor the Phase 4. And it really, it's a good homage to Chadwick Boseman. No doubt about that. Absolutely respectful in that instance, but not much of an anchor to say that brought me over the finish line to the next phase.
It doesn't do anything to make you want to revisit Wakanda again. I'll say that for me. I mean, I can like y'all talking about how the movie's beautifully shot, and I think it is for the most part. But I mean, Wakanda felt smaller this time around to me. It didn't feel like this. In fact, I felt like we explored Wakanda more in the last one. So for a movie called Wakanda Forever, I really kind of felt like we'd kind of get into some of the places in Wakanda that we haven't visited up until this moment. And no, it didn't happen. It felt like we kind of visited the same places, if not less.
That's fair.
Well, similar place underwater, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I don't know, man. I think what Kevin says it best is like there's a lot of supporting characters that are, for whatever reason, they felt like overusing. It's like they wanted this to be an ensemble movie. They didn't want this movie to have a lead. In fact, I think you can argue that the first half of this movie belonged to the Queen, and then the second half of the movie belonged to Shuri, and in between there's various supporting characters who are stuck in.
They're sprinkled in, yeah.
Because it's called Wakanda Forever, so we're going to visit all the characters that you know and love from Wakanda, and because of that, some of them are overused, some of them get shortchanged. I felt like M'Baku got very shortchanged. He's one of the strongest characters in there, one of the most likable characters from the last one, memorable for sure.
Yes.
And barely spent any time with him.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I agree with that. I felt like it was trying to be an ensemble film, but when they first did an ensemble film in the whole MCU, you already had introductions to each of those characters. So if they were following kind of what they did with Phase 1, 2, and stuff like that, you would have had our Riri Williams movie. You would have had some kind of Namor thing. Namor.
They did some weird, like some people calling him Namor, some people calling him Namor.
Because he says Namor.
In the movie.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
I've always heard Namor.
No one loved me. No, Namor.
This was, I'll tell you another thing about it. Just this was not the Submariner that I knew from the comics. I'll tell you that.
Wish you there.
All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just wanted to say that. Well, as we're sitting here bitching about his name, like I don't know how to say it. Yeah, this is not the guy that I thought we were going to say.
So, like a lot in the cartoons, I'm more familiar with a tuna than like Namor, because Tuna was more prominently, as far as Atlanteans go and stuff, was more prominently like
the bad guy.
He's the big bad, and he always the one that was like aggravating Captain America and all that kind of stuff. So to see him as like the side character anymore, which I understand. I had to do some research because I couldn't wrap my head around. It's kind of like when they had the different Ant-Man with Scott and then Scott Lang versus what I know to Hank Pym, what I know to be kind of messes with my head. So I had to research that, and I kind of understood what was going on. But yeah, it's I think there's just too much squeeze into this where the story just got really disjointed. I don't think it flowed as well as the first movie.
Not even close.
No.
I mean, like I said, it's all spectacle.
It was joyless. It was absolutely joyless. Like, name the fun part. What was the part where you laughed out loud? What was the part where you're like, oh my God, that when that scene happened, I was like, yeah. There was no cheering in the theater that we were in.
When we went, no.
And we went on opening, like, not the night, but the next night.
Yeah, late.
And but I mean, the theater was
decently
mostly filled. I mean, there was empty seats.
Younger people.
There was one part, because that was the thing. You do this ensemble movie, and as a result, the Black Panther doesn't actually show up until like the last third of the movie. And finally, when they're like, you could tell that they're going to make the Black Panther come back, one dude in the audience goes, yeah.
Yeah. It happened.
And you could almost see the entire audience kind of turn back to look over, and I'm like, Really? There's 30 minutes left. If the Black Panther doesn't show up by now, we're going to go get our money back. Just call it Wakanda Forever. Leave Black Panther. There better be a Black... Come on, man.
That would have made more sense. They took Black Panther off of it, just said Wakanda Forever. But yeah. I think there was a couple of parts where I liked, I think like the Riri part, she would say something that I would have a good chuckle.
I like Riri, yeah.
Oh, I hated Riri.
I didn't mind Riri.
Riri was, to me, the worst part of this movie.
Yeah, well, once she, as the person, I was like, that's cool. But yeah, once she evolved, so to speak, that was kind of like,
she was more like the buffoon kind of
it's a little broke. It's a little
this
broke.
movie. She wasn't really done up like to be like Tony Stark's replacement.
Yeah, I wasn't even like I said in previous shows when we do this. I'm like, I'm not even a purist about this stuff anymore. I
know, and that rings through my head every time I watch these things. Is you were like a little angel on my shoulder saying you can't be a purist.
Can't be
stuff,
a purist.
You just gotta let it go.
Yeah.
My problem with Riri has really nothing to do with the actress or her portrayal of it, or it had to do with her complete unnecessary involvement in this movie whatsoever.
Oh yeah.
There was no reason to have her. But yet they based the entire plot on her. And I'm sure we'll get into this in the spoiler section. The plot made no sense because of it, and Riri was really the biggest part of that.
I felt like she had more like the what's her name, America Chavez role ish, but not much less involved.
Much less involved, but at the same point in time, the entire linchpin of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes.
But at the same time, I mean, you just can't shake, like, as you're watching it, why is she here? Why do we keep going back to her? Why are we not moving on? Why is the Black Panther not getting involved? And it's like, it's somewhere in the back of your mind, you're like, Disney's made a decision to introduce her here, so that way this
when he's pepping this stuff later.
Yeah, for her TV show.
Ironheart, yeah.
Which is, I don't need a commercial. I don't need to pay however much money for a 2.5 hour commercial.
Well, that's what they think synergy is now, right? You introduce it and that's it. There's no longer like a blending of stories. It's like you pop this character and make a face so people know who it is, and then you move on. Like product placement now.
Yeah, they just put like the final battle, let's say, right? No details of it, but I was like, that is the worst area to have a battle of that magnitude.
You think?
I was like, that's just terrible. And then
talk about giving the other team the advantage.
Huge, right?
Yep.
I mean, and then the battle between the antagonist and the protagonist was interesting. I think it was a cool style too. But then there was this one part which I know we'll get to specifically where I'm like, all right, no, like, if that's how it's gonna go down, make it go down how it's supposed to. Though I felt cheated on the final conflict. I think if it went another way,
between the two mains,
yeah. I think that if that had gone in a very specific way, that you'd have been like, well, it took us a while to get to the Black Panther, but ooh, okay, like. This was a little scary. Okay, let's see where you take me. But as it was, even the payoff, like I said earlier, even the payoff took forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, when it came to Riri, like, that was one of the things I asked Eli. It's like, does she have anything to do with Black Panther and Wakanda in the comics? Like, I thought she was more of a Tony Stark kind of disciple. And what is the connection? And he was like, yeah, no. Like, there is no connection between her and Wakanda. And I said the same thing about Namor. I was like, I don't remember any stories involving the Wakandans and the Submariner and all the Atlanteans. They call them something else here because I guess
I have no idea why they
likeness
call them
or whatever,
that
property rights, whatever the hell I don't know. You would think, but Disney's almost bought it all up by now, but apparently not. But yeah, and in both situations, like, yeah, neither one of them have anything to do with Black Panther.
No, I say the Atlanteans are more with like Captain America and the gang.
Yeah,
versus.
That's exactly what he said. Fantastic Four?
Yeah, Fantastic Four. Yeah, those guys too.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. They're always popping out of water and wreaking havoc. And
because Namor wanted Sue Storm. He always wanted to take her and bring her back down to Atlantis. You know what I'm saying? Make her the queen.
Show you my water cabin.
Yeah, get it wet. Let's have some sea monkey.
Make some sea fish.
Yeah, buffet. But other than that, those two characters, they don't meet. They don't relate to each other. And I mean, I'm fine with the explanation that they gave. It was still a little hokey, but with the vibranium and the two meteors and all that
it's
stuff,
like a convenient.
it was
thing.
just like, yeah, we
No,
threw that
you're
in
right.
there, you know. And I was like, okay, you know what, fine, like just get me through the movie. Like at this point, when they start to introduce that, like, okay, get me through the movie. Maybe we're getting to an action beat, and we've seen like a very depressing, like, you know, funeral scene. So maybe you're taking me somewhere where I'm going to feel intimidated. But I was never intimidated by Namor at all.
I was not a fan. I wasn't really a big fan of Namor. He was kind of boring as a villain to me. Like, just not interesting at all. I didn't find his character. It was kind of whiny to me. Like, like they didn't love me, so they called me the child without love. My enemies, they labeled me, and it's like, what enemies? No one knows you exist.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Like, you know, you walked out of the water to bury your mama one time, and an old man called you something, and apparently that hurt stayed with you for all these years? Really? I mean, man, I every single time I caught him, I'm like, why has that dude got bright green boogers hanging out of his nose? And it would be like he would turn, there's a bone. And that was so irritating to me. I hated that. That stupid bone in his nose.
It was a little much.
The look was just not the Submariner. It just didn't resonate. And I get it. You can't just have a guy walking around in his drawers.
Right.
But something beyond
Well,
that.
you can, I mean, they've had other versions of the
I couldn't even understand him sometimes. Like, there were times where he's delivering dialogue, and I was like, what did he say? Like, the accent was very, very, very thick.
Very thick.
And it was hard to understand him at times. It's not trying to be a dick. I didn't catch some of his dialogue at points.
No, like if you think about it, towards the end of it, to your point, the Mora, she goes ahead and she's asking him some question, and then he starts to talk, and then you see it. They subtitle it. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, because whether he's in the native tongue or he's talking, you do need subtitles when he goes through. But I mean, he was no Killmonger. I mean,
No.
you know, I mean,
No, definitely not.
this dude looked like, I ain't gonna lie, this dude looked like he came out of a jewelry shop or a bar somewhere and was eating, and then someone said, hey man, somebody called you, and then he just like walked out the water. Like, you know what I'm saying?
He's like Luca's cousin.
Yeah, he just
lacked charisma.
Yeah, he wasn't intimidated at all.
Like Aquaman, just look at Jason Momoa. Yeah, dude, there it is, right there. Boom, you buy it, look. And even though that Aquaman looks nothing like the Aquaman from the comics,
True.
You're like, I can get behind this. I can buy this.
Mm-hmm.
You and every other housewife in the world
Yeah.
behind Jason Momoa.
Yeah, I did.
You know, the more we talk, the more it just seems like we didn't like it. And it's not like we didn't like it because it was a bad film. We didn't like it because this was not worthy of the Black Panther. And I think that's really what it comes to. It wasn't a bad film. It just, this is not worthy of what this franchise could have been. This is like, this not only might have been like the death of the Black Panther franchise. This might have been the death of Marvel for me, where it's like, I don't know what they're doing over there anymore. I just don't have faith in the people who are running this. We talked about it on the show. We knew when they decided to make the decision not to recast T'Challa that they were playing with fire, and that this was probably they were risking an incredibly successful franchise, a character that meant so much to so many people, and having seen what they did with it, I'd be interested to see if anyone would go see a Wakanda 3 with these exact same characters in place without a new T'Challa, popping up. I'd be curious to see how this would work out.
But, never mind. I was going to say that I was going to do it, but it might spoil things. But without a new T'Challa.
Well, speaking of spoiling things.
Spoiling things, here we go. Here's the spoilers, gang. Spoilers. Yeah. So speaking of spoilers, to piggyback of what Danny just said, apparently your boy got down and
got
there's
busy.
Little T'Challa, and you find this out in the mid-credit scene. But yeah, there's a little T'Challa running around in Haiti. I mean, her and what's her name? Nakia. Nakia.
Talk about stealth.
Did you freeze? No, I did not freeze.
Hi.
You should freeze your spawn.
He froze.
He froze like a deer. It was that good. Oh yeah. Oh my God. Baby.
Yes.
Baby.
Yeah, yeah.
T'Challa baby.
Toussaint.
To baby.
Toussaint is
Little-
my Haitian
Little
name.
vibranium baby.
I was like, oh, wait, no way. You related to Alan Toussaint
Toussaint.
from New Orleans?
Oh.
No. Different Toussaint.
Yeah, he's a cute kid.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a cute kid, and he's apparently T'Challa Jr. or second. I don't know. They never really specify, but I don't, maybe in Wakandan culture, you can just name a kid without specifying. Exactly.
Like, where the papers at?
Yeah, they got a son. Here comes Junior Avengers.
All right.
Yeah. The Young Avengers, here it is. They'll start all over again.
So in 10 more years, you might get your T'Challa, guys.
Yeah.
If the franchise lasts that long, though, to your
Phase
point,
10. Phase 10.
I mean, they don't really know what to do. I think with that particular franchise, with giving them an opponent. I mean, they just use it as a launch point, for Ironheart, Thunderbolts, or maybe a T'Challa, just all of these loose storylines and loose story plots that you don't know if they're gonna go anywhere. Meanwhile, what's actually at hand didn't really have anything solid to it. I mean, that's the thing that killed it.
Well, we talked about this the other night, and that's that even the Black Panther franchise really has one big pendulum dangling over its neck, and that's the fact that Black Panther does not really have a rogues gallery that is anything worth a damn. Like, he doesn't have great villains
he doesn't.
at all. Killmonger, they made Killmonger. He wasn't that guy in the comics.
No,
I mean, he was nobody. I'd never even heard of him when we watched this. When we watched the first one. Now they're just transplanting villains to come over because they really don't. There's not a huge rogues gallery to choose from to begin with.
Well, he probably works in if they did approach more. Like, I remember the cartoon series Avengers Assembled. They did the whole Secret Wars storyline, and so at one point Black Panther and Captain Marvel were leading the crew because the other guys got trapped somewhere in time. Kang sent them away, and so it's like a new set of Avengers were fighting this war and looking forward to getting him back. I feel like in that kind of instance, if they would have taken it that way, they could have at least resurrected this thing.
Yeah,
but they would have had to replace T'Challa.
But the problem is too they also add that level of politic, like you said, and that was a cool
colonizers. You're gonna get the vibranium.
Yes, here are your soldiers. Here, we were nice to them and didn't kill them.
Kneel before me. Kneel before Zod.
Yeah, I mean that was a cool scene. They captured it as the country and everything, but they don't trust anyone. Is my point. So even then, that's one of the main things about the superhero motif is even if you don't like the people you save them anyway. Well, in this case, you have a whole country that'll turn against you if you try to help someone outside of it because they feel justified to say, nobody likes us. They only like our vibranium. So you still limit what the level of what that character can do and what he or she can be exposed to for that rogues gallery.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me I've been watching Luke Cage on the Netflix stuff, and there's at one point he says, he saves the enemy's aunt. Bushmaster's aunt. And he's
wow.
like, and they're talking. Is like, I can't let you kill Mariah. Mariah's the other big bad in that series. If you haven't watched it, and he's like, yeah, but I guess I'm still the good guy. So I can't let you do that. I can't let you beat him up.
So when we said spoilers, we meant spoilers for Luke Cage, guys.
Yes, yeah, we're talking about Luke Cage, yeah, because that's what I've been watching, and so
spoilers.
much better, yeah. There's your role model, Luke Cage.
He getting it all.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, they could have had. You know what though? Here's one thing I would have thought that would have been interesting to do if they'd have had all these different characters that at some point got to try to be the Black Panther.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought that would have been neat. Like the MOW would have went in there. She'd have got a shot at it.
Ooh, I don't fit into this too well.
But she's built like she was like when
Angela
he shot,
Bassett?
yeah, and he shot the head of her was pretty majestic.
Oh yeah, no, she rocks.
Yeah, and then
That's Angela Bassett.
I didn't expect her to die. Right?
Yeah, damn, I know,
yeah,
huh?
Yeah, but that was
Like y'all are not killing off Mama.
she's swimming. She's all in there. I mean, she was very heroic.
If she wouldn't have taken off her headdress, I'd be like, what is she, 34, 35?
I know, huh?
Until you saw the gray hair, you're like, oh, okay, she's older.
She's an older lady.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Reminds me
but-
like Claire Huxtable's mom.
she had that
Gray
old
hair.
school horror thing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't Oh man, I can't believe they did that.
That's the other thing. That's why I said at the very beginning is depression forever. Because we established we have a guy that's dead. You got to kill the mom too. Like, I mean, we don't. I don't know. I didn't think that was really necessary.
Well, that's when you go from depression and grief and sorrow and all that, and you're like, okay, let's get out of this. We're getting into the action, and then boom, you go straight into vengeance, and that's when the whole tone of the movie shifts towards that now, which is, again, you feel sorrow immediately. You see, right after she dies, you see them all in the white funeral gear again. I'm like, turn to Eli, like, we walked in on this part.
Yeah.
It's like, we're doing this again already? Same movie?
She's wearing the same dress. No,
And so you go through the same thing, and then boom, straight in it. But instead of wallowing in the grief as long as you did with T'Challa, now you're wallowing in the vengeance aspect of things.
Yeah, that's the point. When that happened, that's the point when I figured they were going to make Shuri Black Panther.
Yeah, well, I knew that just from watching the trailer. It was like they tried to hide it at one point in time, but finally they were like, maybe people weren't responding as well, and they're like, no, we need to show them there's a Black Panther in here. And so they gave you a full look, and, well, let's just say Black Panther had titties.
Yeah.
So you knew.
Yeah, you figured it was going to be a female of some sort.
You knew it was a female, and you were pretty sure it was going to be Shuri. I don't remember if they showed her doing it, but you were pretty sure that's who it was going to be.
Yeah, I was just, I don't know. I was hoping it would be somebody different than the obvious.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be minded if Nakia became it.
Okoye had been fine with that.
Okoye would have been great. Yeah, I thought, at one point I thought she would be after she got fired. Like, I thought somehow she was going to work it and she become the Black Panther or something. I don't know.
It makes sense because Black Panther isn't necessarily, the idea is that it's the best warrior, because that's how you decide who is the Black Panther, is that there's a challenge.
Yeah, because you could challenge them, right? If you're a better person, you're a better warrior, you could beat them and you could become the Black Panther.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like a bloodline thing.
So when Shuri's powers are taken away, tell me anybody who's going to buy in a year's time if M'Baku decides to challenge for the throne that Shuri, without her powers, having spent her entire time in a lab designing equipment, going to schools, studying, is going to beat the hell out of M'Baku.
And she got to fight him topless.
Like,
Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay, I'm okay with that.
well,
That might work to her advantage. He might be distracted.
you might have just sold tickets to Wakanda 3.
Wakanda.
It's nothing but battle scenes. That's all it's in there.
Black Panther, drop it like it's hot. No, but the thing is also too, like Danny was saying, they stripped the powers away from Shuri.
Yes,
but she can't. She builds weapons and stuff, and she can't use that in that combat. That's apparently against tradition. You use like a shield and a sword of some sort.
Yeah,
some kind of spear.
like a short spear.
Yeah, and that's it. That's all you get in the water.
And you've seen Shuri, like, it's not like Shuri's above combat. It's just, it's not her forte. And when she does engage, she's engaging with these
Implements, yeah.
these implements that she's created, because that's what she does. She designs weapons, or suits, or whatever. Without all that stuff, I don't know how Shuri's supposed to last.
I mean, I'm sure she can fight. I'm sure at some point
I'm sure she can hold her
her and her
own.
brother were trained, and she'd be fine. But I don't think
Against a member of the Dora Milaje, or against a member
definitely not
of
against
the
M'Baku.
Jabari-
If you saw at the end of the movie,
Sure.
M'Baku's like, "Yeah, challenge for the throne."
I was like, what is that about? Is that a joke?
That
Like,
was out of nowhere.
Right.
I have no idea why that was.
the Black Panther's not here, but I challenge for the throne, and there's no smile or anything like that. It's just like, what does that
There's a bunch of
mean?
people nodding, if you remember. They cut away to the audience. They're all like, I was like, what?
I didn't get it.
I didn't get it
that
either.
at all. I don't know.
You could be the king, and then she'll be the protector.
I thought they were going to go for it. It's like, oh, snap. Here we go.
I would have taken him as the Black Panther, but
Yeah, that's
I kind of
another
want. That's what I
candidate.
told Eli. I was like, that's what I was hoping would happen, is that Shuri would become the Black Panther, but then at one point in time, you would find out that so many other people had ingested the heart, and so when you look around, and that would have been better than seeing Okoye and the other girl in these manga samurai suits.
Oh, Midnight Angel.
that they were running
Angel,
around,
yeah,
and I'm like,
yeah.
what the hell is this about? Why are we doing this?
Is that in the comics, the
That-
Midnight Angel suit?
It actually is, but it's like new stuff.
Oh, okay,
yeah. There's
okay.
actually there's a Black Panther. There's like volume 8. So I mean, it's fairly recent, but
interesting,
yeah,
okay.
It's like the best of the best, but it looks even weirder in the comic books than it does on screen.
That's hard to believe.
I'm
that
curious.
looks so out of place.
It doesn't. It looks like it looks like if somebody had like a gas mask on without the it's without the pieces actually protrude out, but it was like just in.
Well, Nakia's had
Yeah.
dreads, if you've noticed.
It looks like a weird voodoo doll or something. It doesn't look right.
No,
It didn't look right in the movie.
It looked
either.
terrible in the movie. It just looked out of place, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, so can we talk about the big battle on the ship? The big bulbous ship.
That was terrible.
It looks like that, a water version of the what's it, the Houdini in Star Wars? Those guys.
Oh, Jawas.
Jawas, yeah, it looked like a big Jawa ship, but like on water.
Yeah, because if you're going to fight an army that is in the water, where do you want to fight them at?
The water.
In the water, yeah.
I'm pretty sure Sun Tzu said that in The Art of War.
Fight enemy on strongest part.
Like when Sherry's like, let me bring this dude to the desert and fight him there. I'm like, yeah, maybe start the fight closer near the desert. You might have a better opportunity. Don't know. Just
It's like, why did they take the boat and while she was flying in the ship? Why didn't
Bring
they
him
take
to
the
the
boat?
desert.
So go in the desert. That's what I thought they were going to do that.
yeah, once you get them after you, hightail to the desert. No, it would have made sense. Ironheart, my God, that looked terrible. It looked.
Or her suit through the fight.
That suit, yeah.
Yes.
Looked very bulbous.
That suit killed
It
me.
looked like Eve from WALL-E grew up and got a paint job.
And it mixed with Baymax in his suit.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
if Eve and Baymax got it on, that's what you would have. That would be the result.
Yeah, it did not look right.
No.
It did not.
Does it look different in comics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
man.
Oh, God, yeah.
I showed Danny the design in the
I'm
comics.
gonna look it up.
I asked him the exact same
Yeah.
question. I was like, I thought it was more Iron, and he showed me. And yeah, it's exactly no.
It's more Iron Man. In the comics,
Oh, yeah.
it's more Iron Man-esque.
Yeah,
the
sure
armor,
is.
the color scheme, that it's more like that.
Definitely more shapely.
Yes, this didn't look right. It looked like a weird, Metroid. Remember the Samus
Yeah,
from Metroid?
yeah,
It looked like
Samus, yeah.
a little weird thing. But that whole boat scene, I just think. And then they had the water grenades, which I know we talked about.
Yeah.
That. I just know brokest weapon in history. I mean, if you got somebody that ain't bathed in a while, I think that's the most effective use of that weapon you can have. But you're on a boat in the water, you throw in a grenade made of water.
But it
Didn't make any sense.
exponentially expands as it explodes, if you notice.
yes,
It's like a little orb, and then all of a sudden it's like water.
Water.
Everywhere. Like from Typhoon Lagoon, it's just water.
Just all the water.
It's like, how is that even scientifically possible? Those grenades must have a lot of pressure.
I guess so. Hard
compress
water.
to compress those water mob. And now I'm getting into physics.
Well, no, but that would solve a lot of countries' problems. They're having trouble with water, like
it's
transportation.
Yes, there you go. Boom.
Transport a lot of
bombs.
water.
Yeah.
You just see one water bomb a month.
You
You
the
could-
third
you could-
world country.
Yeah, it could irrigate your lands with that one bomb.
Ethiopia, we're coming for you.
get it.
Water bombs, baby.
Yeah, everybody gets one. Thanks to your boy Kukulaka.
Shoot it out of a C-130. It looks like the little, the flares.
No, man, dude, you
angel.
got one of those like cannons that they do at the
Sports
NBA
games.
game.
Oh yeah, the air cannon things.
Who wants some water? Stand up in the crowd, you back there. You get a
You get
t-shirt
slow
and
motion
you get
shots
wet.
of people getting hit. You're like,
A tuna hit him up there.
a tuna. Oh, a tuna. This was a side character, man.
Tuna Matata.
Yeah.
What a wonderful
name.
character.
Oh my goodness.
I like the tuna.
I don't know what to think with them making everybody blue either, because I don't, with Avatar coming out.
Oh, that was the advertisement for Avatar.
Yeah.
I bet you James Cameron's pissed. He's like, dude, really? Really? Y'all didn't know I have a movie about blue people in the water that I've been working on for like 15 years? Y'all gonna come out with this right before?
when we were there.
Yeah. They're gonna be like, wow, man, Avatar completely stole this from Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, everybody's like, what?
I bet you James is pissed.
It should. I mean, but it's like, man, you couldn't have come up with any more intimidating looking henchmen than this. I mean, they never felt them as a threat. And I didn't understand what was the point in fighting them, because like, remember, you stab them, they're okay.
They come back to life.
They
Yeah.
just run around and stuff. Like,
Well, so does
remember-
Shuri apparently.
Well, yeah.
I I don't know who's approving creative decisions over at Disney, but they clearly seem to believe that a spear or lightsaber through the stomach is merely a flesh wound.
Not a problem if you're skinny.
Well, it skirts around the organs and just makes a clean cut.
Yeah,
Clean
every
exit,
time. As long as it goes straight through the belly button, there is nothing behind there.
Straight through the belly button.
There's nothing behind there whatsoever to hit of any importance.
Oh, no,
at all.
absolutely not.
Let alone the spinal cord and being able to walk right.
But
after
she's
that.
very petite, though, Dan. She's very petite.
Yeah, so you can't really miss it. So I was watching some videos in preparation for this, just I was getting some ideas of what people were thinking. Somebody addressed that particular issue, and it's like, yeah, well, who knows? Maybe Shuri had, but the beads can heal things and stuff. Maybe she had some on herself or the earrings and just did it. I'm like, man, that's assuming a lot. Dude.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's communication. The beads.
One, well, they shove things. Like I've seen it where people get injured, they take the beads and shove them in. Take a bead and shove it in the wound, and it's like cured. They did that to Ross, I think, in the first movie.
Yeah,
I remember correctly. So it's like communication, but it does a lot of stuff.
Yes.
It's much better than the water bombs because the water bombs just go boom. The beads like cure, and you can talk to people. You could probably watch TV on it if you're bored. I don't know.
You could order from Amazon.
Yeah, you could get the knockoff on Amazon and use any kind of charger with it. But yeah, I know. But I was watching that dude. First of all, he seemed very positive about everything, but he's just trying to knock down these theories that other people were saying left and right. And I'm just like, man, that's assuming a lot, dude.
No, that's
assuming a lot.
That's just making excuses for the movie when the movie should be able to explain something that they made it a point to show she got stabbed in the stomach. They could at least make it a point of how she survived it. That's important. Like shoot, if you're watching Rambo and he gets stabbed, you're gonna watch him cauterize the wound so he doesn't bleed out, so that way they don't insult your intelligence.
Right.
It's or the Revenant or whatever it is. Like if you get messed up, you gotta see how that person managed to not succumb to his injuries or her injuries in this case. And no, you didn't see that. She just kind of winced a little bit, grabbed her gut, and limped on off.
Well, you even saw Kylo Ren have blood dripping. We got a hit with
he kept punching himself. Yeah,
he kept punching himself, trying to keep it from from what's that? Chewie's gun, the crossbow.
The crossbow.
Yeah, but she didn't even do that. She did a flip and landed, superhero landing. I was hoping she would like Kylo Ren it, and just
The Grand Inquisitor survived it. Reva survived it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't mean anything to get stabbed in the gut anymore. And that's what's so odd about it is that it's such a repetitive thing lately. It's like somebody over there is like, you know what? We've been pretending like getting stabbed in the gut is a bad thing. We need to go the other way with this. I don't get it. It was really horribly done. I'm like, oh my God.
You're just taking a cue from Reservoir Dogs. It's like the stomach is the most painful place to get shot. But people really die from it.
I was hoping that at that point in time, like, okay, somebody else is going to show up in this moment and help. But
that's what I was wondering.
She just shakes it off, and it's like nothing.
Shake it off.
No,
I'm a strong person.
Yeah, she was fine at the end. She didn't have nothing that said, "Oh, don't Riri, don't hit me right there." Like nothing else. But while you talk about that final conflict, just in case for the sake of time,
the boat. Or the two guys.
No, when Shuri has the Black Panthers fight Namor, and he's like standing there, he's trying to walk off, and she flips over after being stabbed, and she goes Wakanda Forever, and then the exhaust from a spaceship.
Oh yeah, how
that
did that
goes
happen?
so fast that it every time it goes speed of light. Yet it doesn't cook this man completely. I get it. You could be dehydrated. But if something lights you on fire, you burnt toast. That's
merely
it.
a sunburn. Merely a sunburn.
I have lotion for that in Kukulkan.
He's like, I'm from Mexico, fool.
Yeah.
But I must have missed some. How did she set that off?
She just trickered it. She
said Wakanda Forever?
She
and
did
just
Wakanda hit her chest, and then it activated the ship.
So she could have done that still impaled.
I guess so. Yeah, she could have. She could have stayed from right there. It wouldn't have been the same effect. She's lucky she didn't get caught on fire. I just thought that whole ending was like.
Well, she was in the suit, so.
But if I would have let that go, if she had did it and he got cooked and then he like you killed me and she was like yeah, and
it would have been like ouch.
I told you, I saw Killmonger, mother. I'm hard now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he gets hit and the only thing he says is ouch.
Yeah, like, ooh. Oh, I need water.
Ooh.
I need water. You ain't getting water now. You getting cooked.
Peligro.
Yeah. You ain't nothing but hot salmon.
Should we touch on that Killmonger scene? What'd y'all think of that?
Oh, that was cool.
I didn't expect him to be sitting there, but I thought that was kind of neat.
I liked that they brought him back. It just felt so forced.
I mean, it was. I guess if you had to introduce the vengeance aspect of it, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, it was a good shock factor part, though. It was like,
You asked for me.
Yeah. You go ahead of your business.
What's up, little cuz?
I'm like, I was watching it. I'm like, really? Of all the people she could see there, like, you kind of knew they weren't going to do a CGI Chadwick Boseman. I mean, you can't just be making this movie out of respect for this man and then recreate him with CGI. Although I was pretty sure they weren't going to do it, but there was that scene where the Queen told Shuri, I sat down here and I felt depressed, and all of a sudden I waited for it, and I felt your brother's hand on my shoulder, and I knew he was with me, and it made me feel better. And she's like, Mother, that was just a construct of your mind, or whatever she says. But then at the end, she's sitting there and she's kind of breathing in, and her shoulder's in view. And I'm like, at some point, a hand's going to come down on that shoulder. And then maybe she just holds on to the arm and just kind of, and it's just the Black Panther armor. You never look up, you never see his face, or maybe you look up and they would have done CGI. That would have been something to kind of call back to what they did before. And I'm like, her brother's with her, because I mean, and that the idea is that when she went to see the ancestors, that's who you're thinking. Like, of course she's got. If she
didn't believe, and so yeah, you don't expect to see.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
You would expect that, since this whole journey is about her brother, that she would see her brother.
I mean, but you think you should at least see her mother?
The mother, she does. She just shows up at the end and like, show him who you are, and it's like
who you really are.
Yeah, that's the character arc. That's like both her and Namor just seem to change for no reason.
Mm-hmm. But I don't feel like her arc was developed well.
It wasn't.
It was too disjunct to even connect it like that. Like, I would have been okay with that, because after the loss of a loved one and stuff, to see how you, especially if they're in a position of power, to see how they deal with it, especially her. The closest only sibling after having lost the dad. And then I could see, that mom thing was just extra. But I wouldn't mind seeing that development and change, and it's like, maybe I should accept this mantle. And maybe that's too formulaic. I don't know, but
I'd have took that though.
I would have. I would have taken that as well too. To see that struggle. She's like, I don't deserve to be the Black Panther sub. I shouldn't be doing this. I'm the scientist. I that's what I do.
I mean, I can see that be the way that the next movie goes, where she's been the Black Panther now, and she's like, you know what? Someone else should do this, and I can do this over here or whatever. I don't know.
I agree, Lee. I do think, but there again, I just hope they get to a next movie, because I'm anxious to see how this movie does box office wise. I hope it does well. I hope they're able to get some, but I mean,
he was doing well as from last.
I mean, it was the number one opening, right? Like,
right.
Ever.
I just don't see a whole lot of people who go to see this movie going back to see it again. Mm-hmm. I don't see a whole lot of repeat business for this. I don't ever want to see this movie ever again.
Well, I'm going back. I mean, to take my family. I only went by myself, but I know they want to see it.
I'll give you my biggest problem with this movie was the plot. Riri Williams, again, very unnecessary character. So just to explain why it is that I have a problem with this, the Atlanteans, Telecons, or whatever they call them, Shaka Khans, whatever.
Telecon.
They realize that a military operation has been held within the Atlantic Ocean or something like that, that was using a machine that was meant to detect vibranium, and then they go to the Queen and Shuri and demand that they deliver the scientists to them that developed this machine so they can kill him/her. So the thought process here being that once that scientist is killed, there's no longer a way for humans to find a manner by which to create a machine that can detect vibranium, which makes no sense whatsoever, because you don't think the military who developed, they still have the blueprints, that they brought their own people in on it, that there were several people involved in the making of this thing that now understand how a machine of this magnitude is supposed to work.
Oh, I got to answer that from that video guy, that super positive guy.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Let's hear it.
He said, yeah, you could, and I think he's assuming a lot, but he says, yeah, maybe the professor just sold the plans to the military, but never gave him the blueprints.
Okay, but then the military still had to build the machine.
Oh, but she used so many weird random parts lying around that it was hard for the military to recreate it.
But they still had to test it and put it together in a manner that would make it work.
And that's where he stopped.
Oh, good.
We're glad we fixed that one.
I had to throw that one out because that's another one I was listening. I was like, man, get out of here.
I mean, Riri even admits that she had no idea what the military was going to do with her design. So they clearly had people that were knowledgeable, figured out her process, and created a machine that could duplicate what it is that she said to do. So it made no sense. Kidnapping her wasn't going to stop them from making another machine. It made zero sense, but they made her the entire linchpin of the movie.
But then they had her, they captured her, and didn't do anything with her, right? They didn't try to get any secrets from her.
No, they're wanting and dying the princess, and they're like, we'll just let her stay over here, but really we're going to have to kill her at some point in time. But let us explain you why and show you around, which we're seeing Talokan, and I'm just like, for a city born of vibranium, you'd think there'd be some kind of glow. This is just like, I'm watching and I'm squinting to see the city because there's like, it's hard to see. I think I saw huts. Like thatched roof.
Oh,
huts
you asked me, like, what is that?
Yeah. And I'm like, why would you need thatched roof huts under the sea? Like, there's no sun. There's no light. I could barely see what we're seeing underneath this thing.
I did see a pineapple.
And why were these people walking around with headdresses with feathers? How many birds are there under the sea? I mean, I know they're at hundreds of years ago they used to live on the land, but I mean, you've been in the water for a while now.
A little bit.
Yeah, come on.
You can wear seaweed. You can wear that.
I guess they didn't want them to look like Davy Jones's crew.
I guess.
Oh, yeah. Well, even though they kind of did.
Yeah, they kind of did. That's what they reminded me of, especially to do with the hammerhead shark looking thing.
Oh, that was a tuna.
Oh, that.
Yeah, that's like that's his head.
That's me, dude.
I was like, all right, here comes the tuna. Tuna is such a side character right now.
Yeah, that whole setup was another piece of movie that they could have taken out.
I was waiting for Namor
sister Namor.
No, I was gonna be like turn to Shuri and be like, "Girl, you so fine."
Oh yeah,
there's your drama.
Yeah,
stay down here with me in the water.
I won't kill her, but damn, you fine, girl.
Yeah, like maybe I could call off war if you would stay with me and be my queen.
Friend.
Like something like that. Although he probably said that and we just didn't understand him.
He gave her an outfit. I mean, royalty wears good stuff down here.
Yeah,
here you go, baby.
Well, here's another little.
There you go, baby.
Here's another little thing. So in the middle of all this, like Nakia and them, they break in to rescue Shuri, and one of the blue people get killed in the midst of this. And then Shuri's like, I can save her. And he's like, let's go. No, I can save her.
Give me a bead.
This is going to start a war. I get a bead. No. There's no time for that. Let's get out of here. And of course, it starts a war. That leads to the queen dying and all that. I mean, it's like, again, a little
more work.
Just such a wonky way to get to a war. Made no sense to me whatsoever that everyone's going to war over that.
Yeah, it was a handmaid.
Yeah, it wasn't even like the Archduke Franz Ferdinand,
the sister or nothing like that.
Like drop a bead, move on. What the hell? It wouldn't have taken that long.
Drop a bead.
Move on. Have the bead.
They could have been like,
she tried to
Kuka
fix him.
Khan or Shaka Khan.
Khan.
You were so like misreading these people because I was injured and she saved me. And you're like, maybe I should not go to war with these. I mean, his whole motivation was like, why is Wakanda their enemy? Yeah, either you go out and give us the scientists or we're going to war with you. Well, they got vibranium too. Like, clearly they've been responsible with it. Why are you making them their enemy? Like, why not just go get the scientist your goddamn self?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they could have. Apparently, they had to wait for the Wakandans to bring her to the bridge so they can finally get her. Even though they couldn't just go to her college and get her herself. Oh, maybe that was too far inland.
Wasn't the whole thing like they just would, then they would be discovered if they were to be on land. Like, they needed the Wakandans to go get them so that no one would find out that they existed.
Well, as long as they wore clothes that didn't show they were blue, I think they were fine.
You mean what they did on the bridge wasn't, like, conspicuous enough?
Right. Like, Namor could have literally walked out of the ocean, walked right over there. As long as he didn't show off his winged feet, no one would have known anything otherwise. They would just think he was into grunge. If he got gauges in his pointy little ears. Like no one would have thought twice about
You
that.
would have wore flannel.
Well, no, you just wear a baseball cap like
Right.
all Marvel superheroes do when
Exactly.
they're incognito.
Or like Spock in Star Trek 4, just put a headband around that. And then you go
man.
walk right over there, kill the girl, move on, everything's good and done. Why expose yourself to you don't want to be known. You just exposed yourself to an entire nation in Wakanda. None of it makes any sense. And how are they learning all this? Do they have TV? Do they have the internet underwater? How are they researching this?
Yeah.
Oh, you remember when Tony Stark did that power thing underneath the ocean and one of the things? They tapped into that.
Is that what the super positive guy?
Yeah. No. I was just saying that. I was just saying that because that's why Tony's bill was so high every year.
Oh,
What the
wow.
hell's going on? Oh, they tap into my cable, kind of thing. They're stealing my cable. Atlanteans are stealing his cable.
God, they didn't get all the good channels.
Pepper's like, damn it! We didn't even watch. We weren't even here. Why is our bill so high?
What the hell? Did this girl stealing our armor? Yeah, it's a lot. Once you dig into that aspect of it, and you break away from the sentimentality of Panther died, and really, I get that they had to talk to the family about that, but couldn't he have gone out in the movie? I'm saying, not real life. But couldn't they have done that in a little more of a, I don't know, a better way?
Oh, you don't
because
like the undisclosed disease, and
I
he didn't
don't
want to keep it to himself.
I don't, because it doesn't make sense in that they got beads that cure everything, and they got your DNA, and they can put on the screen and all this other stuff.
Oh,
Now-
but Killmonger burned all the plants, though.
oh, that's right, but
Yet they still have beads.
they can still recreate it.
But
How-
the whole idea behind not recasting the Black Panther was supposed to be, or T'Challa, as I guess, is supposed to be out of respect for Chadwick Boseman. But then you have this character die from this unknown illness that he willingly chose not to divulge to anyone that could have helped him until it was too late. They make it a point of saying in the movie. So basically, they're making it sound like T'Challa's death was his own fault.
Right,
And it cheapens his death and makes it sound... It makes him sound silly, and how does that paying homage to somebody by making the character sound like he died from his own
pride.
hubris, pride,
Yeah.
or just whatever? Like he didn't trust his a woman to save him. I don't know.
I mean, yeah,
It makes no sense.
it would have been,
Yeah.
but I was gonna say, it would have been a cooler twist if this was because of some enemy. Some enemy did this to him.
Yes.
And then it's like, okay, well, this guy did this. I say, I'll take Namor if I had to, but this guy did this to my brother. Okay, now you get the piece. Totally makes sense now. Now I don't like whoever's doing this.
That would have been you would have been more. You know where you stand with Namor.
It's a little more
If
cathartic.
they did it like that, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if they would have started the movie like that, holy crap!
now he's really a bad guy.
Yeah.
He's and you
And you spared a queen, because now he's giving you a reason to go to war with him, but the queen didn't have to die in order for that to happen.
Right.
I get why they had him die off screen because, who wanted to watch a CGI Black Panther or a guy in a Black Panther suit pretend to be T'Challa when we all know it's not him?
fair.
Yeah, I get the idea of having him die off screen as opposed to some battle.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I see what you're
it's a superhero still. It's still
it
a
is.
franchise, and you're not doing well to it.
You know what
for
it's like? It's like when you watch The Rise of Skywalker. Every time you saw Princess Leia on screen, you knew the character was dead. It's like you see it and you're like, oh, yeah, it's just a matter of time, isn't it? You're like waiting for them to do their thing. This is not when it's already going to happen. It something about it just seems wrong. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Well, I would have accepted, if you picture this in your mind's eye, I would have accepted, people ready mourning. You shoot to clear shots of that, but in the background, you see blurs of the Panther fighting somebody, and you hear echoes rah, and then maybe you hear Shuri going, no, something like that.
That would have worked. I could see
he fights
that.
in battle
Yeah.
and whatnot, and then
Okay.
the faded stuff goes away, and then you're at the funeral. That's
No,
it.
I'm good with that. I'm sold with that.
Yeah, I would have been totally cool with that. And then you hear you see just feathers, and toward the end, you see, very slow motion though, slow motion feathers, and it just goes away, and you're like, what the hell is that? And then when you see your boy fly later in the movie, you're like, "Oh, is that that mother?"
Then they play that, that magnanimous villain music that they
I am
use.
Namor.
But it seems to me like but maybe there should have been like a third villain, like that was kind of manipulating these people to go to war. Like again, you don't need Riri in there. She's the entire reason they go to war. But then they compromise for really no good reason whatsoever, except Namor just thinks to himself like, okay, at some point in time, eventually, years down the road, they'll need us. And in Sherry's mind, it's the queen just flashes to her in that moment. I felt like you kind of need like a third villain that was manipulating it
like a
all.
Snoke?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about a Snoke.
I
But
took a Dr. Doom or something on that.
That there was something
snap.
happening behind the scenes that was manipulating these two nations into war and to fighting one another, and then suddenly at the end they realize that they're both being played, and then that sets up because that's one thing these Phase 4 movies, the connectivity between movies and Phase 4 has been lacking completely.
Oh, big
I
time.
agree.
Yeah.
It was MODOK.
MODOK
MODOK could have done it
did
all.
it.
That would have been great.
It was intelligentsia. Once they stopped hating women, they started manipulating nations to battle.
I mean, I would have accepted Kang doing something.
For any of that, yeah.
Yeah, Kane.
In the
Fine,
background?
sure. Yeah, something happening. Something that was just tweaking things. I would have gone with that.
And then when Namor fails, we can be like, fine, I'll do it myself.
Yeah. That's not the best. That
Puts
they
on the
have,
helmet.
Yeah, now you're on it. Now you're like, okay, well, what are you
That's
gonna
creativity, guys. Look at that. We can make this movie.
do? They could have just showed us that. We
We just make our own cartoon version of Phase 4. How it should have went down.
What if?
Yeah, I mean, Namor falls in love with Shuri. It turns into a telenovela.
Got a little baby with wings on
Yeah.
the feet.
Right.
I will say this: I've seen some people doing a video. You were talking about your super positive guy earlier. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of super negative reviews about
Holy
this movie.
Moses, yes, indeed.
And they are turning this into personal politics and stuff like that. And look, we called out the stuff that we saw in She-Hulk. Is there some element of wokeism to this movie? A little bit, but not to the extent that people are portraying this, in my opinion.
No, I don't. I agree. I was listening to some of those things. I was like, "Good, what the hell's wrong with you guys?"
Yeah, that's conspiracy theory, blown up and beyond. There's an agenda there. I can understand, and I think it was you who said it to me. Like, man, as a brother,
yeah.
They took away my guy. They took away the hero as a brother that I got to look up to, and I could see that. I could see, like, name another Marvel character that even comes close to T'Challa. There isn't one. You can go through the DC universe, you can go through the Marvel universe, you will not find a character like T'Challa, and to have that taken away. There's
big time.
There's a lot of powerful characters, but nothing like T'Challa. And also knowing that if it comes to the representation of a black, like I would think this would be like taking Storm away from black women,
Right, but because that the franchise, you only pretty much get one shot to kind of do this kind of stuff. You always vote with your dollars. That's what
But nobody does.
Well, yeah, nobody does, and that's the thing is, it's gonna be tough. Like say there's Blade, but I'm not really.
they can't even get that off the ground,
Right, but I don't think of Blade as that's my guy. I like Wesley Snipes, but I didn't feel like any pride, heroism. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like what you want from here, and that is a fear. I think it's a legitimate fear to have that character be taken away because the first person that they had portray him, passed away. But, and I know we talked about this before, that happens all the time. You wouldn't have Henry Cavill without Christopher Reeve. You have Heath Ledger, like we say, as the Joker.
Yeah, and everyone said Jack Nicholson, like, you can't top that. What's the point of even trying? And then Heath Ledger came along and they said, well, that's it. That's done. No one will ever do the Joker like that again. And then Joaquin Phoenix came along and did it. And that's what ends up happening. It's never going to be the same portrayal. It's always going to be something different. Like, well, I didn't see T'Challa being like that. I didn't see him going that way. I always felt like, I said that last time, I felt like Killmonger, you could have gotten him to be the new T'Challa in like some kind of alternate universe where King. What's T'Challa's daddy's name?
T'Chaka.
Where he dies early. The brother takes over the throne, and then Killmonger becomes, and in
Oh yeah,
yeah, and
absolutely,
he knew he
yeah.
wanted. Yeah,
He
you
never
could have
kills
done
his
that,
brother. Yeah,
and then because we're doing multiverse stuff, you could have had him taken over. Because I mean, that's the thing. It's like you said before. Chadwick Boseman is obviously he played the Black Panther, but he's not the Black Panther. He's an actor. Other actors can play the role. I thought it was a silly decision to decide to retire it with him. In the Black Panther movie, as much as we all like Chadwick Boseman, in the Black Panther movie, the guy who stole the show of that movie was Michael B. Jordan. There was nobody that walked away from that movie saying that the best performance in that movie was Chadwick Boseman. It was Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger. He was the one who captivated the screen. He was the one who captivated the audience. I would even put Okoye above what I saw Chadwick do, because I've seen Chadwick do it in Captain America and everything that came before that. Whereas I thought Okoye just knocked that one out of the park.
Oh yeah,
Like,
absolutely. Oh, and speaking of Okoye, I don't mean to interrupt your.
Go.
Yeah. But what happened to her husband?
I heard, Eli and I were talking about this too, because again, there was a lack of like outside of M'Baku, there really was no male warriors.
Yeah, because there was another tribe that got into, that was on the side of Killmonger.
I think what I read was
With
that
the rhinos.
there was a
The
scheduling
rhinos.
conflict. Like they wanted him in there, but there was a scheduling conflict, and he just couldn't make it work. It wasn't
Oh,
like
son of a bitch!
yeah, so they
come on.
they wrote him out because he just couldn't be there when they were filming. I think that's what I read because I looked it up.
For the love of story, freaking delay the damn thing.
Oh, get out.
Make it better. Because I think I remember they explained something about him being in prison. I'm like, why is it in prison?
He's in prison.
I don't. I might have heard it wrong, but I heard prison. When I see it again, I'll get clarification.
Yeah, but that would make sense because it was kind of technically treasonous because he did side with Killmonger.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So
that makes
that
sense.
would make sense, and that would be a convenient way to write him off.
So he's hanging out.
And then
hanging
you
out
can
with,
bring him back later on down the line.
Yeah. He's hanging out there with Zemo then. Apparently.
Yeah.
Him and Zemo, because Zemo is still in. Where is Zemo in all this? I was waiting for him to break out of jail.
Oh my God.
And he's like, haha, I'm free. Namor, you're my friend.
There's another one they could have used him. He could have been the one manipulating things behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I mean,
go around offering Turkish delight. I love that
and
dude.
dance moves.
The Hobbit guy, Ross. Did we really need him in there?
All you needed to introduce Valentina again. Like, apparently they're married.
Like, why?
I don't know.
Thunderbolts.
Yeah, they're leading toward Thunderbolts. But still.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. So that's the thing, is that these movies aren't just made for art. They're made to
promote.
And that's the problem. It's like maybe this movie would have been a little bit more of a cohesive, better feeling movie if you would have just chopped 30 minutes off of it and come up with some kind of a better thing for these two nations to go to war against one another, other than, hey, this little girl built a machine and they want the inventor of it and they want to kill her. I don't know, man. It could have been a better movie. I think ultimately it would have failed to reach our expectations because of the decision not to recast T'Challa. I mean, look, it'd been one thing if we're like, look, we got to go. We have a schedule, and even though Chadwick's only been dead for a couple of months, we got to shoot now, and the movie's going to be released within a year or two of his passing. We're not recasting, but it's been multiple years.
Right.
Yes, great point.
It's been enough time where we could have moved on and would have embraced that. And when you were telling when he was talking to me about that's the guy, and all you can think about is like the millions of young boys who sat in a theater looking for that role model to look up to, and there isn't one.
There was a lot of fatherless children. In this
We got
movie.
no heroes.
Interesting.
Meanwhile, the girls got everybody flying and doing rockets here. What we got?
You got Okoye, you got Ironheart, you got Storm, you got the Dora Milaje. Not Dora Milaje, we already kind of Nakia. I mean, there's a lot of representation. I mean, if you're a boy, M'Baku's it, and
That's
he
it.
barely was in it.
And little T'Challa.
The boy
Baby T'Challa.
Yeah,
Baby T'Challa.
Yeah.
And then Ross.
Kids, just read your comic books.
Yeah.
That's it. That's best I can tell you.
Because I tell you what, like, reading the comic books, like the same way they talk about the death of, like, whenever a new artist takes over a book, it's like the death of a character, because the character never looks the same.
It's true.
Like, when Jim Lee stepped on X-Men, I'm like, I started collecting, that was when, like, I hung on for another book or two, and I'm like, I'm kind of done. Like, they don't even look right anymore.
Yeah, I didn't start reading that again until Joe Bad took over.
Well, guys, look, that's all of our thoughts on Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Of course, we want to know what you guys think of this movie. Where were some points that you walked away with? Were there some points that we made you might have disagreed with or agreed with? We like both, either or. Get in touch with us, man. Let us know your opinions, and we're about to tell you how to do that in just a little bit. Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed that review of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Look, if you want to learn more about us, the Magic Our Way podcast, magicourway.com is the way to go. There you'll find our social media links, past episodes, and more. Also, to get in touch with us to share your opinions on this movie, you can do it through the following ways. Shoot us an email at show@magicourway.com, or you can call or text us. Yes, I did say text us at 1-815-MO-WEEKEND. That is 1-815
Mo-Weekend
669-4226. And of course, we have a couple of guys do things outside of the podcast. First of all, we got Eli does things with comics.
Yes, as always, you could go to the website www.ivorycomics.com and check out the books that I've made, Project Geisha, Savages, and The Molly Be Damned. There's also a link to this podcast, so you never miss a beat, an episode, a review, whatever you need. That's how Synergy works. So please support me, www.ivorycomics.com. Facebook, I can be found there, Eli H. Ivory. As long as you're a real person, nice to meet you. If you're a bot, don't want to greet you. Go ahead and just stick yourself in front of a spaceship fire thruster.
Barbecue.
Yeah, how you like your ribs?
Unpunctured.
Oh, yes. Get a bead for it.
I'll take a beer, thank you.
Yes, sir. Project Geisha has a Facebook page. You go there. So facebook.com/Project Geisha. Instagram. I still post up art. Follow your stuff, post up hearts and likes and everything there. So EIV504 is where you can find me on Instagram. And of course, on Twitter, I can be found at Hancock10166. So if you appreciate the madness there, you just bring me a gladness. Thank you very much.
And if you want to book a vacation to Wakanda or Talokan, you can book it through Lee. Lee, tell them how to do this.
Just give me a call at 832-431-1621. You can email me at lee@magicourway.com. On Facebook, you can find me at facebook.com/Lastovica Travel. That's LASTOVICA Travel. Instagram, You Got a Friend in Lee Travel. And on TikTok, You Got a Friend in Lee. And if you do need that, we'll get you hooked up and booked up with no.
Cola Canavica.
In addition, guys, there's so many ways to support the show as a whole, and you can find them all on our website, magicourway.com. Plus, if you want to elevate your support of the Magic Our Way podcast, go to patreon.com/Magic Our Way. There you'll find 6 awesome tiers to support this show.
Awesome.
Any way in which you can support the show is deeply appreciated. We also want to thank you for being a loyal listener, and we always love hearing from our listeners. All opinions are welcome on the Magic Our Way podcast, so make sure you get in touch with us today. So, my weekends, we say Kwaherini. My name is Kevin.
And I'm Danny.
Wakanda forever.
And ever.
And ever.
Ever.
And ever, ever.
And never,
Amen.
ever.
Ever, ever.
I have every intention of eating those bananas for breakfast, but I still somehow end up with tacos.
A tuna salad.
All right.
Hey, this is Eli from the Magic Our Way